Okay, so today let's see how we can create a new model using Odoo. So uh, first, let's take a look at the documentation. So if you go into Odoo documentation and check where it says model inheritance, you will see Odoo provides two inheritance mechanisms, uh, an existing model and in a modular way, like it says, right? So basically, the first inheritance allows the module to modify the behavior of a model defined in another model. Yeah, it seems complex, but it's not. So what we can do is we can defining the name or defining the inherit property, we can add fields to an existing model. And I'll show an example. If we go here and I just do a Shift Control F and say inherit equals like that, not only in Project Ledger, but I'll search it in code. So you'll see we have uh, lots of lots of examples we can see. For example, let's use an easy one as partner. Not this one. Yeah, this one really. If you just specify inherit equals to res partner, it means you are adding things like you are adding uh, this, you are extending this method, you are adding these fields to the existing model. If you don't specify the name, it's just the same. What matters is that the res partner here, it's equal to res partner there. So if you see most cases on the code, you'll just see something like this. This is just the same as having name and inherit, just the same. Just taking the existing model and extending it with new fields, right? Now, the new fields, for example, you just want to change the name of this one. What you do is just you use the same declaration, you just pass a different string. It's going not to recreate the field, it's just going to change the name. Any property that you want to change from existing model, you just need to do that. Some type of fields, there are special cases, like for example, selection fields, field selection, um, and you have the selection add, yeah, selection um, fields. Yeah, that's the wrong thing here. Okay, you have the selection add that adds additional selection options to the existing ones. So you can add, for example, here to the same field in this existing type, we are adding this. One important thing here, you're using, so this model here, it's on the calendar, but it's inheriting a model on a different model, okay? In order to do this, you must have the dependency declared on the manifest. So here you see there's a dependency for mail. Of course, you wouldn't need to do this if you're already inheriting a module that has that module as a dependency, but that's required. You might get errors if you don't get that right? If you're declaring not adding models to an existing model, you are creating your own model, then you can just do uh, underscore name. So like you do underscore name equals, for example, portal share. This is a new model, and this is the initial declaration. When I want to see what are the initial declaration for a certain model, I'll just do this underscore name. It's going to show up exactly what is done. So we created for our own module here. We created a very simple one, the project ledger. We wanted to control different type of costs for um, a project. So suppose we want to control the cost of we purchase a house, we do some house flipping. We want to control our own cost, but for some reason the customer is going to supply some of the materials, and so we have to control separately also the cost of the customer, right? Because he has a certain budget. So we will need to have a third-party ledger. That's what our project ledger is. And what I did is just added mostly all the same fields that you have on the account analytic line, except for this one. This is the ledger ID. It's passing a default ledger, which I'm calling always the customer ledger. But suppose we want to have also another ledger by some reason. Let's say we want to control the cost in different parts, different places, like you're building several units and you want to control just the cost of each unit separately inside the same project. You will want to use that. That's why I defined this. But rest are all existing on the account analytic line. This is just getting a default. This default here, you'll be able to see it on the user ID. So it's getting the default user that it's doing this. Uh, a many to one, as it says, it has, uh, it always ends with the underscore ID. The way we give names inside Odoo is very important. If you're using a many to one, should always end with underscore ID. If you're using a one to many or a many to many, it will always ends with underscore IDS. So if I just do for IDS equal fields, you'll see you only have many to many here, one to many. It ends with many. So just looking at the name of the field, we know exactly what it is, right? And so for each field, for example, ledger ID, I also define one additional model called project ledger. It was the use case that I told you. I'm defining the name, it's ledger type. I'm defining the required equals true, it has to be required. And here I'm defining a new model. You see the name, description, and the order. And the order is not correct. We never open it, so it can be removed because default the order will be the ID itself. So let's just remove it. So this is the ledger type, and we are using this to link with this field many to one. Now I could add here uh, one to many and link it to all the project lines if I wished, but I don't need it, so I'm not going to add it. Um, a car field, for example, a date field. These are all straightforward. You can just use the same method if you want to see how it is done. Just do Shift Control F in PyCharm and do, for example, fields dot. I want to know how to do a one to many, one to many, and you will find your examples, not field, but fields. Okay. And you can restrict the search only to Python. Usually I have for Python and XML, but you might also want to JS files if you're working with JavaScript. But yeah, you see for the one to many, you might want to have a count, for example, the field you're linking to and then the ID. So in our situation, what we would need here, it would be something like this. So would be like line IDs, and then we'll use project ledger line here, and the link field. Guess what? Yeah, you guessed correctly. It's the ledger ID. That's how this field will know which records belong to this project ledger. As I told you, I don't think we need it. we are not going to, it's just a type. We are not going to use this field, so I'm just taking it out. But you ought to see it's now we also would miss the string so that we had the name of the field. And that's it. There are lots more fields. I'll show them in other videos. But well, for now, it's just for you to get an idea how to do this. Of course, uh, we will also talk about some methods that are specific to the ORM. You have the write, the unlink, the search, you have the create. There are some specific methods you can use, but well, to create a model, you just need to declare fields and you need to do this. You need to declare um, name and description. At least the order will always be ID descendant. Um, and or ID ascendant, that's the default. If you don't specify it, it's not going to order it that way. Uh, this is okay for me, so I'm going to leave it as it is. But just for you to know, the ID, of course, it's not being shown here. Odoo always adds an ID, even if you don't declare it. It's like mandatory. And like other fields that are created by the ORM, like the create date, the write date, the create UID, and the write UID, these are fields that allow you to audit who has changed the module or who has changed or created the record. And well, these are just the basics. Okay. Thank you. See you next time.